everyone. My name is Elizabeth Manns, and I'd like to welcome you to the April 4th Coalition Show. This is the March 18th, 2024 edition of the show, and it is the 491st one that we have done since the closing of the North Adams Regional Hospital, and the 31st one that we will have done since the announcement of its possible reopening. The April 4th Coalition's mission statement is: we offer workers' rights and collective bargaining rights and are against tax breaks for the rich and corporations who ship our jobs overseas. We support all the articles of the Universal Declaration, but as is our custom, we put the emphasis on Article 23 at the start of the show. Dick, would you like 1 and 2?
Yes. Number 1, everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and protection against unemployment. Number 2, everyone, without any discrimination, has the right to equal pay for equal work.
Number 3, everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for himself or herself an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection. Michael.
Number 4, everyone has the right to form and join trade unions for protecting his or her interests. And
as is common, we say thank you to Michael Putnam, who is the program director of WMNBLP 107.1, which is our public access community radio, and for airing out the audio portions of our show on Fridays at 6 p.m. And to the staff here at Northern Berkshire Community Television Corporation for their invaluable assistance in producing the show. So thank you to David Fabiano, Joanne Hurlbut, and Nicole A. Brown. And Dick, you wanted to start with the Poor People's Campaign, I believe, today?
Yes. I got an email from the Massachusetts Poor People's Campaign. It's a national call for moral revival. It says, on Saturday, March 2nd, we were here in Massachusetts, joined hundreds of thousands of impacted people, moral and religious leaders, and advocates across the country to demand the legislatures take immediate action to end the crisis of death by poverty in the United States. Poverty is the 4th leading cause of death in this country. It was a solemn occasion to not only lift up friends and family and loved ones who have been lost to the policy, violence, poverty, and low wage, but to show our power in declaration and declare to the political establishment that we will not be silent anymore. So what we want to do is we want to just show 10 minutes of a 2-hour video of what happened in Raleigh, North Carolina on March 2nd. And then we'll come back and talk about it. But I thought they did a very moving job. And Raleigh is a very important, North Carolina is a very important state. Mm-hmm. And if they can get inactive voters or unregistered voters to get to vote for a policy to end poverty, maybe we can have an impact on this coming election in November.
struggling to pay my bills since I've been working at 16 years old. I work full-time 64 hours a week, 7 days a week. I am exhausted.
Our government finds it necessary to ban abortion, to say that they are saving our children. But more children die as a result of poverty in this country.
We should not be cornered and forced to choose one necessity over another.
This is the consequences that we face. So what our people say is that we are fighting the oldest evil.
No matter how you call the holy, all of our sacred texts compel us to create a world in which there is enough for us all.
In the face of a distorted moral narrative of religious nationalism, we declare that silence is betrayal.
We gather on these streets in the spirit of the prophet Amos, who declared, "Hate evil and love good and establish justice."
We heed the charge from the Holy Quran. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina bil qist. O you who have believed, be persistent, standing firm in justice, witnesses for God.
Hope comes from the bottom, from those most directly impacted by the profound evils of America.
Our votes are not a show of support. They are a demand.
We will raise our cry and we will call for change because nothing less would be a betrayal of our sacred commitment.
We are here. We are the poor and dispossessed, and we are here.
Until children are protected, sick folk are healed, low-wage workers are paid, immigrants are treated fairly, affordable houses are provided, until saving the world and diplomacy and living in peace is more important than blowing up the world. We won't be silent anymore. If we've got to march, we'll march. If we've got to engage in nonviolent direct action, we'll engage. If we have to ask workers to make election day a labor strike day, we'll do it. But until then, we won't be silent or unseen or unheard anymore.
All right, forward together. Forward together. We are here for the Mass Moral March on Raleigh. Poor and low-wage workers State House Assembly and Mass Moral March on Raleigh and to the polls. How many of y'all have been to a Moral March on Raleigh or HKNJ before? How many of y'all is this your first time with us? All right, all right. We are thrilled that you are here with us. There is something about being in person and feeling the power that we have together. Is that right? Yeah. With the last time we did the HKNJ and the Mass Moral March on Raleigh was 2020. And one of the people that were missing here, I remember from that, was Frank Jones. Just the next month, a little bug started to go around. Understatement of today. So we are thrilled to be back in person. So turn to your neighbor, say, I'm so glad you're here. Turn to your other neighbor, I'm so glad you got to see me. And we are praying for those who are on their way. We see, we're going to hear some chants, you're going to hear some messaging today. And for those who have been here before, this time we're not alone. Amen. There's over 30 states who are meeting right at this moment at state capitals across the country. And we know that if we can change North Carolina, We can certainly change the South. If we can change the South, we can change the nation. If we can change the nation, we can make it a heaven of a lot safer for the world. Is that right? So we know that North Carolina is critical, but we're also doing this in solidarity with all those other states as well. And so we're going to take back the mic from the extremists. Last year, they ran roughshod on us. We're going to talk about that over there. And where they pass off extremism as something like it's moderate. So we have to change that narrative. We're going to make our voices heard, and we're going to let people know that our votes are not endorsements. That's right. Our votes are our demands. And so we're going to vote like never before this year in North Carolina. As sisters picking it up, over 41% of the electorate in North Carolina is poor and low wage. Yeah. This is not a marginal group of people. This is the moral center. Yeah. And actually, if we only get 19% of those folks who haven't voted before to vote, we can completely shift the electorate in the ground here in North Carolina. And so you can hear much more about that. We're going to get started here in a minute. We're going to be marching over here, and we're going to go around. But before that, we're going to be joined by 2 clergy and 2 low-wage workers who have come, and they'll introduce themselves. Well, I'll go ahead and introduce. We got Mama Cookie, Union of Southern Service Workers, Sister Nina. We got Reverend Glency Redrick, and Pastor Vance Haywood. And just so they don't have to introduce. So welcome them. This is a somber moment that we're going into to remember all those who have died from poverty and low wages, and those who are lifting up.
A call to action. With a collective spirit of unity all across the nation and with unwavering resolve, we come together today to take back the mic from the extremists, to own our power, and to raise our voices and votes to make our power felt from the State House to the White House, to wake the sleeping giant. We don't need an insurrection. We must be a resurrection. Forward together. Not one step back.
We refuse to accept poverty as the 4th leading cause of death. Somebody's hurting our brothers, our sisters, and our people. We demand justice, compassion, and unity as we stand together across all races, creeds, colors, sexualities, and geographies. All faith traditions call us to defend the rights of the poor. Our U.S. and North Carolina constitutions require us to establish justice and promote the general welfare for all. Forward together.
Not one step back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
We will take back the mic. Yeah. We will voice our demands and register our vote. Poor people and low-wage workers make up more than 40% of North Carolina's electorate. We have power. Yeah. We demand an end to poverty as the 4th leading cause of death in this nation. We demand a national living wage at very least of $15 an hour. Yeah. But real living wage, come on y'all, it's at least 25. There you go. Not one step back. I'm sorry, forward together.
Wow. So there's a very powerful message there.
Yes, there is, and they're right. There's far more poor than there are rich in this country. So if you mobilize and you organize and you vote, you can swing any state in any direction that you want. Even Texas could swing.
Reminds me what my father always used to say. He said, you know, God must love poor people. He made so many of us.
Mm-hmm. They did. They certainly made a lot of them.
There was a battle cry back then.
Yes, it was.
There were poor people back then. Always had it, you know.
Mm-hmm. It was a battle cry, yeah. I remember.
You know, it's one of those things, but we don't have to look just to North Carolina. We can look right here in our own backyard. Right now we have workers at Mass MoCA that are out on strike to make a decent wage. They're standing together, you know, asking for more.
Right, because they're not getting.
They're not getting what they deserve. I mean, people are working at McDonald's and Walmart that are getting
18 to 20.
right. The video that we showed last week, the one individual, his name was Drew. He says, "There's low-wage workers, and then there's us. You know, we're below the low-wage workers." There was a letter to the editor in this weekend's Berkshire Eagle from City Council woman Ashley Shade. And she said, "I stand with Mass MoCA workers." To the editor, "I recently had the opportunity to speak with Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art workers on strike. Mass MoCA union members go on strike as the museum management holds to its latest offer. I spent several hours with them, listening to them, learning from them, and coming to understand them. The workers are on strike not because they don't love their work, but because they deserve to be paid sustainable wages. They don't just want a job, but they want a career opportunities and the ability to work at the museum and make enough in wages to provide for themselves and their families. It's unacceptable for dedicated employees to struggle to make ends meet while working at an institution as prominent as Mass MoCA. Negotiating for fair compensation is a fundamental right, and it's disappointing that after 5 months of discussions, the museum management has failed to reach an agreement that meets the needs of its workers. Anyone in our community can attest to the fact that the cost of living in Berkshire County is going up. Mass MoCA staffers are not immune to these increases. Mass MoCA is an important institution within our community. They are great at bringing people in to visit our city. They recently secured a grant to become a better economic partner with the city of North Adams. I am grateful for their presence and what they have done to help our city grow. Mass MoCA also is a nonprofit organization and enjoys tax benefits not available to commercial businesses, many of which still provide higher wages to their workers. If Mass MoCA truly supports economic development in our city and our community, then there is no valid excuse for Mass MoCA failing to invest in its most valuable asset, the people who make it great. I stand in solidarity with the workers of Mass MoCA and urge the management to prioritize their well-being by reaching a fair agreement as soon as possible. Ashley M. Shade, North Adams, City Councilor.
And we echo her call that Mass MoCA truly sit down at the table and try to work it out with the union. And, you know, $1 above minimum wage is never enough for anybody. A family of 4 on $16 an hour when you're only working 20 hours, possibly, there is not enough. Because I'm not, even if you were working full time, I don't think it's enough.
You know, just like they say, you know, forward together, not one step back. You know, Mike, you have a few buttons on your hat. What's that one, that black and red one say?
Black and red buttons gets a lot of notice, believe it or not. It's united we bargain, divided we beg. And the other one is the longer the picket line, the shorter the strike.
Yeah, so
if everybody who is a union member wants a new contract, everyone here has to get out there and make some noise.
yeah, and we have to go out and support them. I know, Mike, you've been down there.
Yep.
And we've been trying to go out there and support them, and I encourage all North Adams residents, if you can, if you're able, to go down there and stand and listen to these people, listen to their stories.
Right.
Get to know them. There's some wonderful, wonderful people that are working down there, new people that moved to our community that we should be very grateful for, but they do deserve to be paid a fair wage. Now, I'm a member of the North Adams City Democratic Committee, and I'm chairman of Ward 3. And last Thursday, we had a meeting, and we voted, and we sent an email to Christy Edmonds, Mass MoCA director from the North Adams Ward 3 City Committee. So last night, the Ward 3 Democratic Committee meeting, a unanimous vote was taken to support the striking Mass MoCA union. We stand in support of the Mass MoCA union workers striking for a living wage. And I think other community organizations have to step up and support these. These aren't people that are going to take that money and put them in Swiss bank accounts.
No.
They're
They're
going to spend it
in
right
the
here
community.
locally, and it's going to make the economy better. And Mass MoCA should realize that if the economy's better in North Adams, they'll get more support.
And they'll get more people coming to their museum
Right.
and to their shows. Instead of relying on the tourists, you might be able to
Right.
rely on your community to support you.
One thing is too, usually you see the supporters out in front of the gate and the fence and all that. If you drive by, honk your horn. It means you're in support of the union. It's about time to hear you. I don't care if you get 20 cars doing 10 miles an hour. Let the horns be honked.
Let them know it.
Yep, I honk my horn every time I go by because basically I have to go by that way to go home every day, so I honk it.
Yeah, now there was a headline in the weekend's Berkshire Eagle saying union management returns to the table. Negotiations are resumed to start today. They were saying Saturday at 4 p.m. Well, I went down and was walking the line on Sunday, and they were still out. They weren't very happy about how the negotiations went. I don't wish to speak for them, but the negotiations continue, and let's hope and pray that they can see some wisdom. I think the only difference is $1 an hour. You know, they're offering $17.25, and the union is asking for $18.25. Right now, their wages are at $16.25, so I think they're asking for like a 4.5% increase.
$2, yeah.
And, you know, I talked to one union organizer that was down there who negotiates a lot of contracts for IUE, and he said most of the contracts that he's been negotiating this year, you know, come out to about 4% increase, 4.5%. So they're not being outrageous. They understand the situation, but they also they want a little bit of respect.
They want to live.
Yeah, they want
They
some
want to live
respect.
a little better than they are. They don't want to be struggling from paycheck
Right.
to paycheck.
You need to have, you know, mutual respect here. And Ashley Shea, in her letter, mentioned the fact that they were a nonprofit organization, and we have a strong feeling about that. Nonprofits, I mean, we came upon it when they closed the hospital that, you know, Michael, you said it, if we had one worker that was on that board of trustees, they never would have closed. Didn't you remember saying that? And
And
that's,
that would be equally true here,
yeah, I think that
that you might have a little bit more sway with management
Right.
if there was a worker.
I
on the
think
board.
there's a disconnect. The people who are serving on the board of trustees, I think if I have the names here, if I read them, I don't think many of them would be familiar to you. I
mean
think
they aren't local?
Right. I don't know how much they're in touch with the workers that are at the factory, and it would be good if that law was in place where if you're a nonprofit in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you're required to have one elected worker on your board of trustees as a representative of the people working
Yeah,
there.
but that means you're going to get something done. Some of these two ties wouldn't have a job then. See?
I think there's room for everybody. I think there's room for
There-
everybody, but there has to be some
I
input.
think that they're taking a little bit too much. You got to give it back to the people actually making money.
Yeah.
Be nice.
And so, you know, we put that forward. We also advocated that there be a ratio set up, that no one, you know, could make
That-
more than 7 times
That's
the
what-
base salary in a nonprofit across the Commonwealth.
So what would be 7 times the base?
Well, I don't know if that's the case here with
Well, even
Mass
if you took it
MoCA.
at 16,
But, you know, when we talk about like hospitals or other places that have really high-paid executives, you know, we set up that ratio and
It'd be amazing the billions of dollars you would
Yeah.
save if the CEO couldn't make more than $1
Right.
million.
We should not have, you know, we talk about this at other times, we should not have billionaires in this country. I mean, we have people by dumb luck or maybe their ingenuity, but still they had a little bit of help from the federal government to get
started normally.
yeah, and to be their multi-billionaires. It's just too much for one person. It should be spread around. You know, like Martin Luther King said, we don't mind that people get rich or get richer, but they
Right.
just shouldn't have to get rich so fast. If they just slowed down a little bit, you know, and gave some of that money back, and so we could have some income equality, and we wouldn't, a lot of the social
Issues.
upheaval that we have in this country is the fact that there is that wide gap.
Right.
of
And that's exactly why the powers that be don't want it, because they want to be able to pick off by, by keeping the social upheaval active. That enables them to stay in power, but it's a tricky act to perform because sooner or later it's going to tip so far that there's going to be a reaction. You know how the pendulum swings like this.
Right.
Not that I want a violent one, I don't. I
No.
want
Well,
a
like they
peaceful
were
one,
saying
like the
in
poor people said.
the Poor People's Marches, they don't want insurrection.
No, they want resurrection.
They want a resurrection. And they want, they want to work nonviolently for
To
social
achieve
change and with respect to all the individuals. But, and they call on from all religious backgrounds the call to take care of the least in our communities. And if we can take care of them, everyone else, I think, will be a lot better off.
I agree. Is there anything else?
Well, there were, some other things that were taken up in that discussion. That was a 2-hour video that we just
Video,
had a
10
10-minute clip. But just North Carolina in the electoral politics is a very important state. And if the Poor People's Campaign can actually motivate that 17% of the 40% of the people that live in poverty in North Carolina, they could make a big change in that state.
In that state and swing it purple.
And I think the same could be true in Massachusetts, because I think there are a lot of people that have given up on the political system. They see it as something outside them, that they don't see the power inherent
In
to
it,
them. Yeah.
right. And the power inherited in a vote because it takes so long
Right.
to see it.
So I think it's our job here in Massachusetts and in North Adams to start knocking on doors, find out who's registered, who's active voters, and try to get them active again. We only have like 29
Not
seconds
29
left.
seconds. No, it's
But,
a good plan, and I know you wanted me to do it in Clarksburg.
Well,
for a while.
we're working on it. We have some people that we're going to try to have a meeting in Clarksburg. I just have had a few things going on in my life, but I will.
Amazing how life creeps up on us.
Yes. But,
Anyway,
plus
so-
I got to get my raspberry bushes trimmed.
You do,
pretty soon.
and so we're coming down to the end. Power to the people, and we will see you next week. Well, these two will see you next
Yes.
week.
Without you?
There's power in the factory, power in the land, power in the hand of the worker. But it all amounts to nothing if together we don't stand. There is power in our union. Now the lesson